Hey everyone, happy Monday. I also wanted to wish you, can you believe it? It is National Be a Millionaire Day. How appropriate, because we're always talking about money. And for some of us, that might be a goal that we've been wanting to achieve. For some of us, it might be something that, you may feel like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to do that. But I'm here to tell you that there are some things that you can put into place because it is very achievable. So, we may be wanting to buy things that we've never been able to buy before. Maybe we want to travel around the world. Maybe we just want to get rid of some debt. But let's go over some of the things that we can do. So the first one would be to make sure you have a plan, that you've created one that's written. And it's important because when we write these things down, we know exactly what we need to do. And we need to put the steps in order to make sure that we get there. So sometimes, you just don't have anything, you just, it's a thought in my head, but when you don't have a concrete plan written down, then the likelihood of you achieving those goals and dreams is probably not going to happen, or the likelihood is not going to happen. So we want to make sure that you write those things down. The next thing you want to do, number two, is to focus on increasing your income as well as the streams of income. So one thing that I like that Grant Cardone says is that in today's economic environment, it's not just a matter of saving money to get to millionaire status. We can do things like cutting expenses and becoming, frugal in certain things. But, when you want to get to that level, there has to be this point where you have to shift and start increasing your income. Maybe that is investing in a business. Maybe that's finally taking that leap of faith and creating that business from that idea that you've always had. It could even be some side hustles. I mean, why do you think there's a bunch of people that do, Uber, Lyft, they create stuff on Etsy, all kinds of stuff. I remember just reading on the newspaper the other day that there's some interesting jobs that people create. I mean, the amazing things that come out of creativity. One of them is like an official hugger where somebody just hugs. I'm not saying for you to do this, but I'm letting you know that there is not a shortage of ideas out there to make money. Another one was you can hire somebody on this app to walk with you, because there's a lot of people that are just by themselves. And so it's just interesting to see what people come up with in order to increase their income and the streams of income. Also, if you're just relying on your salary, if you have a job, that's a pretty scary place to be, because you know how it goes. If that ever was eliminated, what other source of income is coming in? So, keep that in mind. So the next one would be to automate your savings. A lot of times, you see that, okay, I hear this, I really want to save. I haven't been saving. But the problem is, you go about, of course, there's sometimes no plan, but you go about your the month, you take care of the bills and everything happens, but then at the end of the month, there's nothing left because a lot of the dollars haven't been allocated to a place and where it needs to go. And so you end up with no money at the end, and then you say, I can't save anymore, and then, I'll do it next month. And then the cycle, it just continues to go. So you've heard this. I know you've heard this. It's so important to pay yourself first. Treat yourself as if you owe yourself a bill, and start off small if you need to, because that's how you exercise that saving muscle. That's how you start to increase that. But the act and the exercise of paying yourself first is so important, especially if you haven't gotten into that habit. So make sure that you automate that. And so you can even have deductions come out of your salary, go towards your contributions. There's forms that payroll can offer that you can just have that money going to a separate savings account. So there's different ways to do it, but make sure you get into the habit of paying yourself first. The next one would be to upgrade your skills and knowledge. There is absolutely no shortage of information today. You just spend at least 30 minutes, whether it be reading books, whether it be listening to podcasts. I know a lot of people, they love audiobooks because it's just easier, especially I'm here in California, so we have massive traffic everywhere. So a lot of people will do audiobooks, and it just passes the time. I know when I do it, there are times when I'm so engrossed in the information that by the time I get to my destination, I don't even want to get out of the car. So it's a great way for you to spend that time, just to get knowledge and to understand. I'm not saying be an expert in it, but at least be aware and to get a good overall understanding about some of these subject matters, especially about personal finance, and just being able to study what other successful people have done. It gets into, puts you into this mindset of seeing how other people think differently from what we may be currently doing. And so that can help shift some of the patterns in your brain and some of the things that you're doing when it comes to your money. Another one would be live below your means and reduce the use of credit. This one's pretty obvious. So, as much as possible, be careful and mindful of your spending habits and where that money's going. And at all costs, try to avoid racking up credit card debt because it's so detrimental. So, that one's an obvious one I'm sure you've heard of before. And then finally, want to associate with other millionaires. You might be wondering, like, well, how do I run into that? And, for me, I run into it in some of the circles that I run into because of maybe the conferences or the workshops or just the mentors that I've followed. And it's interesting when you sit down and you have the opportunity to have lunch and befriend some people. It's interesting to see the different ways that they think, the creative juices that are flowing from the ideas that they have, and you really start to see the difference. But if you're not in a position where you just like, hey, let's just go grab coffee, again, going back to what I said before, when it comes to being immersed in the information where you can either listen to audiobooks or podcasts or whatnot, even like on, here on Instagram, you see so many of these different accounts. They offer so much information, and, you can even watch it on other people's, IGTV and stories and whatnot. And just immerse yourself in some of the way that the things that they talk about and the way that they think, and see how you start to shift your mindset about how this is, working in your own life and what you can do. So I hope some of those things are helpful, and I'm not saying do all of them at once, but at least you can take some baby steps and allow yourself to slowly work towards getting toward those goals and take one step at a time. So again, have an amazing rest of the day, and happy National Be a Millionaire Day.